Roll up, ladies and gentlemen, and prepare to bear witness to the marvellous magnificence which is the latest Virtual Stadium Tours video. Please remember to keep your hands and fingers off of the screen at all times to avoid impairing your viewing pleasure. Thank you very much for watching.
And so today we are taking a look around the Mercedes-Benz Stadium. That's right, we're actually taking a look at a stadium that's currently under construction. It's not been opened yet, but when it does open in 2017, it's set to be the home of the Atlanta Falcons of the NFL, that's the American football side, and Atlanta United Football Club of the MLS. That's obviously what we Europeans call football. In America, it's known as soccer. So when it opens at some point in 2017, it's set to host both NFL and MLS games. But until then, I need to tell you a lot about the construction of this stadium, because obviously it's not been opened yet, so it's not got no history behind it yet. And it's actually very nicely detailed out here for me, so I can sort of read it off as a timeline sort of thing. But before I do that, as always for you, one of the first facts I have about this arena, about this stadium, is its overall capacity. And when it opens, it's set to have around 71,000 seats in it to be its maximum capacity. Expandable to around 75,000 for large events, and that's for football, American football or soccer events. But when basketball or maybe even ice hockey rocks up in this arena, the capacity will be able to be expanded once again to about 83,000. However, when the MLS shows up, because of various rules and regulations the Major League Soccer Association has to do with their arenas that are allowed to play football in, the overall capacity will drop down to around 29,000. So that's interesting. Anyway, as I mentioned earlier, there's a nice timeline here that I'll be able just to read off to you in regards to the sort of development and the conceiving of this arena. And it starts all the way back in 2010 when the Atlanta Falcons, the NFL side, announced that they were going to be demolishing the Georgia Dome, and as long as everything went correct for them, they would be building a new stadium pretty much on the exact same site. And they wanted this arena from the offset to be able to host a Super Bowl, which, if you don't know, is the big sort of championship playoff game for American football. Anyway, moving on to 2011, there was an architectural firm named Populous. They released plans to build this stadium at an estimated cost of around $700 million at the time, and the capacity at that point was going to be exactly the same as it is still projected to be right now, between 71,000 and 75,000, depending on how special the event taking place in the arena is. In 2012, Populous came out with a revised price estimate for the building of the arena, and they moved the costing up from around 700 million to 949 million US dollars. And it was also announced that as long as the local council in Atlanta had agreed, the construction of the stadium could actually begin in 2014, so just a little over 2 years away at this point from this decision. However, in August that year, so a couple of months later, they announced that the deal had been agreed and that the stadium construction could begin in 2014. However, it was on a few conditions, and that was conditions that the surrounding area, the facilities, would have to be also improved. And then Populous announced that would probably bring the total cost up to around 1.2 billion US dollars now, so another huge jump in price once again. Anyway, moving on to 2013 now, and actually in early January, the mayor of Atlanta expressed his optimism and confidence in the construction of the new stadium, and he cited the hope that it would bring the first MLS side to Atlanta, which of course it now has done with Atlanta FC set to be opened in 2017 with the building of this new stadium. Also finalised in 2013 was some more aspects towards the funding of this arena, with the local government in Atlanta agreeing to pay a maximum of 200 million US dollars towards the project, and the NFL also approving a 200 million US dollar loan to the Falcons in order to get the stadium built. It was also found out that in 2013 that the overall construction cost of the stadium had raised up once again to around $1 billion for the stadium itself now, not including the improvements to the surrounding area as well. Anyway, moving on to 2014, and nothing really important happened apart from that the ground was broken on the construction of the site. In around March 2014, construction began. And moving on to 2015 quickly, the only thing that's been announced since the breaking ground of the stadium was that the name of the arena would of course be Mercedes-Benz Stadium, because Mercedes-Benz had purchased the naming rights to the arena. Anyway, let's move on now and talk about the design of the stadium quickly. We can't talk about the construction and planning phases of it without talking about the design of the stadium quickly. And this stadium has actually one of the most unique movable roofs in the world in terms of large arenas of this sort. It's actually made up of 8 retractable triangle panels on the top of the stadium, which can actually be moved out in a pinwheel formation to allow the stadium to become open air, open to the elements, which makes it one of the most well designed and interesting roofs in the world, basically, in terms of arenas and stadiums like this. Other interesting facts is that there will be over 20,000 square feet of LED boards, including the field level advertising boards that obviously the television cameras will be able to see when they're filming the games. And the third sort of really interesting aspect is that there will be a 100-yard bar that will strengthen the length of the football or soccer field that will be open on match days, and it will run down one entire side of the upper concourse of the stadium. So there will be a bar the length of a football field included in the stadium design, which is really interesting. So moving on now to talk about the last couple of facts about this arena for you. And the first one is that you can actually hire a seat out personally for yourself, costing up to $45,000 depending on where the seat is in the arena. You can buy basically a seat and say, that is where I'm sitting for every NFL or soccer game in this arena for the whole season. And depending on where you pick that seat in the arena, it can cost up to $45,000. So that's good. If you like having something that is just yours, you can just purchase a seat for the whole season. And finally, this stadium has actually already been announced. When it was first designed, it had the Super Bowl in mind, and it's already been announced to host Super Bowl 53 in 2019. So pretty much a couple of years after it's set to open, it is going to be achieving its main goal of hosting a Super Bowl. So that's really interesting, and that is in fact the last fact I have for you today. So thank you very much for watching, and I will see you next time. Thank you for watching this Virtual Stadium Tours video. If you enjoyed it and would like to see every new video this channel uploads as soon as it uploads them to the interwebs, why don't you press the subscribe button down below this video right now. Goodbye.